Dc32, Lost at the World Fair. Soul-touching and life-enhancing stories. Lost at the World Fair. Many people, and especially parents with their children, would travel to the planet Altu to visit the big fair. They would come from neighboring planets and distant star systems. It was a special place, for the entire planet was one big fair, and it was the best place to have a fair on, because it was always night at this planet. So the darkness, with all its colorful lights on all the rides and stands, made it just perfect. Then there was something else very special on this planet, for its inhabitants were only clowns, who made it all even more interesting. The clowns were the owners of the rides and other entertainment stands and booths. They were the ones to organize everything and were in charge of peace and order. Many visitors were constantly flying in from all other planets. Between all the visitors from many different places was an 8-year-old girl named Alta, visiting the fair with her father. It was a lot of fun, especially because she took all the rides with her father. She laughed and giggled, screamed, and talked all the time about how much fun it was. When they walked from one big ride to the next through the busy crowd, she held very tight onto the strong hand of her father. However, at one point something terrible happened. A couple of teenagers chasing each other and ran in between Alta and her father. Alta had to let go of her father's protective hand, not to get severely hurt. She just stumbled, but when she got up, she couldn't see her father anymore. Suddenly, all the laughter and fun was gone. She kept looking and looking, but because of her height, she only could see trousers, dresses, legs and feet. She pushed herself between all the people. However, she could not find her father, and Alta started to cry. The noise of the fair was, however, so loud that nobody seemed to hear her. Or was it also that everybody was so occupied with the entertainment of the fair? Several times she went up to one of the merry-go-rounds, but the crowd was big and nobody seemed to notice her. At last, she became so desperate that she started to use her arms and legs, pulling on people's clothes and kicking around her. And finally somebody picked her up. But then she had to face another challenge. The person who picked her up was from another planet and spoke a different language. It was a strange-looking character, looking desperate, for he also didn't want to deal with that crying girl, for he wanted to get on all the rides. After some loud screaming voices of adults, the character took off in a high speed, pushing himself with Alta in his arms through the crowd. After some time, they ended up at a small circus tent. Clowns were everywhere. Alta had calmed down, because she quickly understood that when she was calm, that the people around her also stayed calmer. She was handed over to one of the clowns, who luckily spoke her language. Without saying anything, the strange character disappeared in the crowd, somewhat upset because he had missed some rides. Inside the circus tent, there was a lot to do, and the funny and smiling face of the clown who had her in his arms and the entertainment of other clowns kept her in one way or another distracted. In a way she felt protected, or was it more that she was distracted? Some clown went out to look for her father, but they couldn't. The tent was as well the housing for the clowns and visitors. The clowns were busy practicing new acts, and it was funny to see all that went wrong. Many clowns had been sent out to look for her father but returned without him, but they kept this quiet, for it would have upset Alta constantly. Alta was as well not the only child, as there were many, and she easily made many friends, which also kept her busy. The tent had different sections, and one section was for sleeping. The beds, however, were no beds, they were hammocks, and it was lots of fun to rest and sleep in a hammock. For Alta, and each resting place had a monitor that showed the action outside on the fair, which went on without closing. In the next days, she was kept busy by having her personal clown, and when one clown got tired to play with Alta, or when Alta got bored with one clown, another clown immediately would take over. Most clowns also took Alta out to the fairgrounds to be in the midst of the amusements, keeping Alta busy with the rides and foods and candy and other entertainment. At certain hours, they would return to the circus tent, of which there were many spread out over the entire planet. Inside the circus tent, everybody kept being busy by the clowns, who gave endless shows. Wherever Alta went, she was accompanied by a clown. She was not allowed to go out on her own for safety reasons. Soon Alta forgot about her father and her family now was the clowns, and her new home was the planet Altu. Time passed, and her life was about being kept busy. At certain times of the year, she traveled the entire planet to experience different rides and new kinds of amusements. On the planet there was, however, one area which had no fair entertainment. The area was surrounded by huge stone statues whose faces and bodies had worn out through the ages. Seemingly behind the stone statues there was a dangerous labyrinth, at least that's what the stories told. Many scary stories were going around. Some said that you would become very sick, that one would get scary dreams, and other stories told about the fact that nobody returned from this place. Alta came to hear about this labyrinth, but every clown didn't want to talk about it as it made them uncomfortable and mostly even afraid. During time, Alta became a very brave and adventurous girl, as she had taken even the wildest ride on the fair. Some drove her from the inside, searching for something different. In addition, she was a little rebellious, and many times she did exactly everything against the wishes and orders of the clown. Alta lived for 10 years on this planet among the family of clowns. This was her life, and she didn't know that anything else existed. Then the day arrived when strange things started to happen. It started with an incredible strong feeling that she wanted to find out about the Forbidden Labyrinth. She wanted to find out if the stories were real. This was also due to the fact that all the rides didn't excite her anymore, and she was always looking for something new. To go this adventure, she knew she could not speak about it, because any time she had mentioned to go there, the clowns had told her that it was forbidden, and she had gotten an extra clown to make sure she would not go there. This time, the feeling was too strong. Something inside her told her to do it anyway. It was also the right time of her life. she had just turned 18 and was more free. Before this age, every child was always escorted by at least one clown. Any children walking around by themselves would be immediately picked up by a clown and brought to one of the tents. She waited for the right moment and slowly made her way to the labyrinth. As she arrived and passed in between the old stone statues, to her surprise, she was facing a huge fair entertainment building. She could see through the building as it was completely made out of glass and showing her a labyrinth of hallways made from glass and mirrors inside. So, it confirmed that the labyrinth existed. Without any fear, Alta stepped into the building and did choose one of the hallways and started to walk through the labyrinth. It was definitely not easy, because all the glass and mirrors, you could not see the opening, through which you could not see the opening to another hallway, and to not hurt herself to find the openings, she walked through the labyrinth with her arms stretched out in front of her. After some hours, she became tired, stood still, and watched herself in the walls of glass and mirrors. Alta, who was now 18 years of age, looked in surprise at herself suddenly because her image in the mirror had changed to a child of 8 years old. She held her breath for several seconds, for she was facing herself when she was 8 years of age. The 8-year-old image started to cry and said, "Papa, Papa, where are you?" The 18-year-old Alta felt very strange, as she now remembered having lost her father at the fair and feeling very sad, and also started to cry, which she had not done for all these years. At the moment she cried, the 8-year-old Alta disappeared, and now she was looking at herself and crying, but had a hard time remembering what her father looked like. Suddenly she became desperate to get out of the place, for she understood that she had been searching for, and she understood why she had not been afraid of anything on the planet, because the scariest thing, losing your father, had already happened to her. While in thought, she didn't watch where she was going, and bumped with her head into one of the glass walls, fell backwards, and was facing the ceiling, which was also made out of glass and mirrors. This time she could not see herself, and it was as if she was watching a movie screen. She saw children with one or two parents arriving at the planet Altu, and for all the children the same thing happened. They all got separated from their parents one way or another, and ended up just like Alta, living among the clowns. She could see the parents frantically looking for their lost child and finally having to give up and return home. As she sat up, the movie continued all around her, in the glass and mirror walls, and she saw the clowns taking off their masks and taking off their makeup, and underneath there were very ugly, scary looking faces, talking and planning how to separate new arriving children from the hands of the parents. Then the faces and voices disappeared. Alta stood up, a little confused, but at the same time understanding what was happening. Upset, she continued trying to find her way out of the labyrinth, and after a while ended up at an open space within the labyrinth. Some benches were standing in a circle, and on one of the benches she saw a clown sitting, with his eyes closed. Slowly she went closer to the clown, but a little suspicious because of what she just had seen what clowns actually were underneath their mask and makeup. The clown opened his eyes, jumped up, smiled and spoke. "Finally! You have made it, Alta!" And he wanted to embrace Alta, who stepped backwards, not allowing him to do so. Alta, still suspicious, said, "Who are you? Take your mask or makeup off, of whatever it is. Are you one of them?" "No, no, no, I'm not one of them," replied the clown. "I am your father. But I cannot show you my face, for I cannot take off the mask until we leave this planet. Please trust me, you must trust me." The clown sat down again, and Alta, more curious than scared, sat down next to him. Then the clown started to explain what had been happening, and this confirmed what Alta had just seen. The father spoke. Many years ago, this planet was invaded by a strange group of wicked aliens, banned by their own people because they stole children and used their energy to stay young. They wiped out the original inhabitants of this planet, which had small fairs everywhere, and they built more and more fairs, turning the whole planet into one big fair attraction. They dressed themselves up as clowns and then started to attract especially children from other planets. They knew that in order to stay young, they needed to have children around them constantly. They are like vampires without taking the blood, but feeding off that young energy. Without this, they would turn old very fast, and this they didn't want it. They had all kinds of ways to separate children from their parents, and then pretending they were their new parents and caretakers. The fair and the clown image were the trick to make this all work. After we got separated, I kept on searching for you and found this labyrinth. This labyrinth is a sacred place built by a magician from the time when the original inhabitants were still living on this planet. In this labyrinth, just like you did today, I found the answers of what these clowns and their games was all about. At the end of this labyrinth there is a huge fountain, its water reaching the sky, and within this fountain there is a space elevator through which you can travel to any planet in existence. I have traveled back and forth for the last 10 years, have walked around the entire planet disguised as a clown, looking for you. Anytime I entered the planet through the space elevator, by some kind of magic I turned into a clown, and this made it actually easier to get in contact with the children with the hope to find you. I never gave up, because I knew that we would meet again, and I am very happy that it finally happened. But Alta said, "But how can I believe you that you are my father? This could be another trick or part of the clowns." Then the father clown says, "Look into my eyes and really listen to my voice again." Then Alta stopped her thinking, did as the clown suggested, and started to cry again. For yes, these eyes and that voice was familiar. "Why can I not see you who you really are? As I told you, we have to wait till we are in the space elevator." "Let's go," said Alta. "I'm ready for the new adventure. This planet has nothing to offer anymore. I want to see your face and get back home again." Together they walked through the labyrinth, and this time much easier because the clown knew his way and ended up facing a huge lake with in the middle the fountain that reached the skies. Hundreds of colorful lights were coming from this fountain, which looked like an ongoing upside-down fireworks, but made from water and light beams. They swam through the lake and then into the fountain, and inside there was a glass box the size of a room. "This is the space elevator," spoke the clown, and they stepped through the glass door into the room. Then the clown changed, and Alta recognized him immediately as her father. Tears came from her eyes, and they fell in each other's arms and hugged each other. Now Alta knew that everything she had experienced in the labyrinth was true. On one of the glass walls there were many buttons. Alta's father seemed to know what to do and pressed one of them, and at once they both disappeared from the glass box and were transported by this space elevator to their home planet, where Alta's mother was very happy to see her daughter again. With this experience, they warned everybody about the tricks and the dangers on the planet Alto, and Alto and her father helped those parents who had lost their children by telling them the secret way to get to the planet Alto, where they, disguised as clowns, could look for their lost children. What the story could bring us. When we would hold on tight to the hand of our spiritual father, we would be able to experience life and creation in an easier way. However, when we lose our connection through the attractions of the physical world, we first feel lost and lonely, and then start compensating to suppress this feeling of being lost and lonely. We keep ourselves busy in endless ways to not be confronted with this. So by doing so, we on the inside and around us create a labyrinth for ourselves in this world and have a hard time when we want to find our way out. When we really want to find this hand again, we must seek, which will be rewarded by finding and reconnecting with the hand of our spiritual father who is always there. We did let go of it and went on our own in the fair of life, in which we got completely lost.